Hello YouTubers and ham radio nerds, this is Max NG7M, and today I have a video of my tower at my station, and we'll talk about that as the video runs here. I had my son come out on November 20th, 2020, and he has a little quadcopter and he's piloting the video here. So as we fly that little quadcopter up the tower, it's an LM-470, 70-foot tower, and at the top I have an Orion 2800 rotor and a heavy-duty 15-foot mast. So I have another 10 feet coming out of the, from the top of the tower. And at the top I have an NN4ZZ tilt plate for my SteppIR or SteppIR DB-18 40 through 6 meter antenna. And the antenna has just been amazing. My good friend Jim W7CT is where I actually acquired this antenna used, and then I did a complete refurbish of the antenna and repainted all the fiberglass poles. There's other videos on my channel you can see about that. So Eric is piloting the little quadcopter here. We're just kind of panning around the top of the antenna. You can see I have the trusses for the trombone elements, and of course the heavy-duty truss for the 18-foot beam there. I believe the trombone width is around 37 feet, so 18 feet by 36, 37 feet. I could be off there. But he'll fly around the antenna. The antenna right now is actually pointed at 310 degrees. I think I was working some Asia from here in Utah. I live in Syracuse, Utah. So as he comes down the antenna, you can see we're looking to the southeast right now. The Salt Lake Valley is due south of me, about 25 miles. I have a little simple Cushcraft dual band UHF VHF antenna there that I've played around with. It's okay. I've had that for years, so I threw it up there. So I have two coax runs coming up the tower, one for the beam and one, of course, for that antenna. What you can see at the top of the tower where the thrust bearing is at the junction box for the control cable for the Orion 2800 rotor. You can also see here on the right there, you can see the standoff. That is from KF7P. Go to kf7p.com. I have no reason to recommend his stuff other than it is very good. And I use that to pull up my low band antenna, which is it's a compromised T-top alpha antenna that I've modified, and I only use that on 160 meters, and I do need to tune it. I've really had a hard time getting that resonant on 160, so I run it with a tuner. And considering the size of my lot, which is 160 feet by 100 feet, it does okay on 160. So there's a good shot of the rotor. Oh, and then also the rotor, I am not using the factory mass clamp. I'm using a Kilo 7 November Victor K7NV mass clamp, which now can be sourced at DX Engineering. So I highly recommend you take a look at DX Engineering for all your HF needs there, their products. They do a good job taking care of their customers. The standoffs for the coax are also from KF7P there. I've talked about this in other videos. I bought the tower used, and the tilt-over mechanism was brand new. I actually picked that up directly from Tashzan, I think I'm saying that right, in California, at one of my trips to Visalia, actually, the DX convention. So Eric is doing a nice job piloting that little quadcopter around here. This is obviously has positive pull down. That is the winch there. And there is yours truly. I'm walking over to the junction panel there, and I'll be pulling off my ATV tire covers, which have really been nice. I dreamed up that, to cover up the winch and the junction box, and that's really kept things nice. And you'll see him come down now. I will have removed that cover, and he'll open the door and you'll take a peek inside the junction box. I have 4 runs of coax to the junction box, 3 of which are in use now, one for the DB-18, one for that little dual band VHF UHF antenna, and then another run that's going out to the low band antenna. I don't know if you'll catch, I've got some ferrite chokes here at the bottom. I don't think you'll see that though. Anyway, he's panning over to go to my little pixel loop, and you saw that I just passed a SteppIR big IR vertical there. And now we're pointed west from, a little bit southwest. And I do have that SteppIR with the 80 meter coil. I use that on 80 meters. Does a pretty good job with the coil, and I have a very, as well as I could do, radial system, about 70 radials buried under the grass. You would never know they were there. So my neighbor caught on to the quadcopter running, and you'll see him in a minute. He, once he figured out what we were doing there, he was fine. My neighbors have been very supportive. This is the pixel loop that I use 24/7 on the NC7J skimmer server for CW skimmer spots, RTTY skimmer spots, and of course FT8 and FT4 spots 24/7 on most of the HF bands. So we're coming around the top of that. You will see my neighbor here shortly. He says hello and is done. He's been very patient. Never said a negative thing about my ham radio hobby with that big tower in the back of the yard there. The Pixel loops have been up for many years. I've refurbished it. I now have RG11 run to that. You can see the preamp there at the bottom of the loop. And then I have a cheap TV antenna rotor there. So when I split the feed when I'm working the low bands, and allows, I get some the directivity with the nulls there. I've got some really strong AM stations to the south main, so the nulls coming off the pixel loop actually do come in handy. But it limits some of the spots, right, for NC7J. And so there's a shot of that. And now Eric will spin around here. We now are pointed northeast again. Actually, at the base of the mountain, way out there, you can see as that hill rises up a little bit, it's kind of subtle there, but that is Hill Air Force Base. And so we see the fighter wing there, jets all the time, flying over F-35s, I think. Anyway, and we're now way above. You can kind of see the neighborhood. My lot is 160 feet by 100 feet. And now we are pointed directly north. And you can see again, the antenna is pointed at 310 degrees right now. I was working Asia, probably just picking off stations in Asia. We have a great path to Asia from here. And he's coming around to the west now, directly west, just to get a good shot of everything. And you can see the 6-meter parasitic element that's added on there. Got a ton of new grids this sporadic E season, by the way. And finally got into the VUCC realm and worked Japan and Korea and I think Indonesia actually on 6 meters. That was a nice little opening we had for a couple days there, back in the summer time frame. So we'll be getting close to wrapping this up. Eric will bring the camera now down the tower again. And I really have liked the standoffs from KF7P. I love the top standoff where the coax wraps around and then hangs down off that arm that's extended out there. And then the loops standoffs are perfect too. Everything nests really well when I bring the antenna down, and I can tilt it over and work completely on the antenna by myself. I mean, it's a lot of work tilting it over based upon the size of the yard, but I can bring that down, and it's a one-man show pretty much to be able to work on the antenna. So as we come down now, we're getting close to wrapping this up. So as always, thanks for watching. This is, there's a lot of better stations out there, but I think I've done an okay job with my lot size, and there's always something else to work on. So hope you had fun watching, and hope to hear you on the bands. And 73 for now. Max, NG7M.